Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the 2300 Pod. Nate Maxon here with you, along, as always, with my brother Aaron.
Hey.
And Chad Austin, ECW star.
I know. I'm a big star. I'm a big star. I'll accept that.
A really big
Don't
show.
call me a star.
A really big star.
Yeah, I'm a big star. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk about this show.
Yes, indeed. It is the ECW episode from June 8th, 1993. And just as a sidebar, I went into the Pro Wrestling Torch for this week in this episode, and there is literally, like, Keller has no news about ECW in this. He just reports what happened, the same stuff we're going to talk about. He reports what happened on the show. So there's really nothing to report from the Torch for that week. But
well, there's a reason why there's not a whole lot of news. Because not a whole lot went on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole reason why not a whole lot went on. As we talk about the show and we go further and further, we will talk about why there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then that'll definitely unravel. And then we'll talk about, remember how we always, was that you, Nate, or Aaron that keep talking about, is this Paulie's fingerprints?
Yes.
No, on the booking?
Yeah.
Now we're going to start talking about Paulie's fingerprints on booking.
Could definitely tell in this show for sure. I think when we're done, we're going to have hopefully come to the conclusion that this show took a more positive turn than we have seen lately. The first positive thing, we are actually finally free of Cabrini. We have freed ourselves of Cabrini College, and it is the new ECW Arena, as Wet Sully calls it. And
graduated.
Yes, we are now. It is now the 2300 pod. It's not the Cabrini pod at this point. We get to keep our name now. So even that, like I said, even that makes the show feel better. Makes the show feel a little less not depressing. But I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. Just
it's fresh.
Yeah.
It's a fresh set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fresh set of eyes in the crowd. You know, it's you're seeing new people. I mean, it's fresh. I have it's the new ECW Arena, old bingo hall. I don't know what they want me to do. Sell for it?
Now, did you say, are these the shows that were you at this one? Or is this where you started attending the shows? Because I know you said that time was coming soon.
You know what? Here's what I think was going on at this period. I think this is when they were doing. Either they were doing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like taping, and then I think Saturday may have been their payoff show, kind of thing, or maybe it was Sunday. It was somehow like, well, no, I wasn't at this particular show, but the whole entire Road Warrior Hawk stuff starts to play out in the next couple of weeks because he was there when I was there. Like
right.
we worked together, so it couldn't have been too much of an overlap, unless maybe I was. There's no chance I was in the locker room at this point because I don't remember a whole lot of these guys that were there, kind of thing. But yeah, we had to be approaching that, at that point.
Okay. So we have an introduction from Jay Sully and Paulie Dangerously. Not Stevie Wonderful. Paulie is
end of Wonderful. It's wonderful that it's the end of Wonderful.
At least in the booth, it is. He is on the show
I have
later.
That as well. I said it looks like Stevie's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the beginning of where you start seeing the house cleaning, and Stevie, the first guy to go,
the first casualty. Stevie and his hair, they're out of here. So we have Todd Gordon walks out with the crown, the King of Philly crown. To interact with Paulie and Sully, and any comments from there back and forth before we bring Road Warrior Hawk in here with his crazy promos.
I just know I'm ready for this chainsaw or Texas chain match massacre to be done. Like I want to I'm sure the match is great and I want to see it, but I'm ready for it to be done.
I was ready for Road Warrior Hawk's music to be done.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Why that's in my notes. Like, why didn't they just, they own the LOD music. Why didn't they just use that?
Mm-hmm.
Or do no music? Like, literally, he could have just walked out there because you heard the people. I mean, am I wrong? Did you not hear people? They popped for Road Warrior Hawk,
Mm-hmm.
and they announced them. Was it Todd Gordon or whatever said Road Warrior Hawk, and the crowd went banana. But they played some shitty music that was way too loud.
Way too loud.
I just said, man, this is not, this is what we're going to look forward to later on. And at least I'm old enough to remember, and I hope you guys are too, the original music that these guys used, And I'm not even sure what he used.
Well, I'm sure he probably came out to Iron Man. But,
is that what you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. You're probably right.
But yeah, the WWE's music was overbearing. Hawk, I wrote down here, he said, he called Paulie a gerbil-faced twit.
Yeah.
And, there were a couple other lines in there
and
too.
Sully laughed on camera, It's like,
that
was Paulie, a guy like Paulie, a gerbil-faced twit, named like dangerously, and Sully laughs on camera.
I was just glad that it was just, it was a new face. Everything just seemed like, all right, we're not going to see the same people. It was fresh, and then you could tell how fresh it was by the new banner that was in the ring apron. That C in the Eastern Championship Wrestling, it looked like they must have won over 3 times with a coat of paint. That was the biggest C. Wait till the next 4 weeks. You'll see how big that C was.
It was also cool to see one of the established guys come in and not just half-ass it.
Yeah.
Like Hawk came in there and Hawk was Hawk and he did his job and he didn't phone it in, like Morocco and Snuka. So that was
like Paul Lee. That's Paul Lee. That's Paul Lee saying, "Hey, look, we might have something here."
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing what the future was, and not knowing what Hawk was going to do in the future, just saying, "Hey, we might have something here."
Is this during the time when he was doing his own thing and he had went off and done his own thing without Animal?
That's
when Animal had the back thing. Animal was out.
Yeah,
Hawk was in between tours of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was June, and I think he went back in October with Sasaki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were Hellraisers
for the tag tournament. Yeah, so he was probably in between tours, and then I think he did a couple of Minnesota shows for Sharky as well during this time. So I think we booked him in Maryland, honestly, around this time for some shows. So yeah, he was taking advantage of this while he had the opportunity.
Strike the iron while the iron's hot.
Right.
Well, we jump from Animal to Terry Funk coming in for a promo now. This
is like a silly note, but Sully was going to pitch it to the recap of Funk and Gilbert, and as he's doing it, they got the camera on his big red head, but he's not even looking at the camera that's on him. They got his big fucking tomato head framed perfectly, but he's looking off to the left. It's what the fuck is going on?
Retrospective. Yeah. Deep thoughts
I'm
with
just
Jay
glad,
Sully.
I'm just glad that when they pitched to the recap of Funk and Gilbert, it was the violence.
Yeah.
They didn't go back to the Terry Funk at the ranch gimmick,
Mm-hmm.
that we have already been seeing beat to death. I'm glad they didn't go that route. And and believe me, after I saw the chair shots that Eddie Gilbert gave Terry Funk, I was ready to see the brother show up at the Double Cross Ranch because them chair shots that he gave Terry were just appalling. If Terry would have saw him, and I'm pretty sure that I know Terry well enough that I could spoke for him and said he would have said, "What the fuck are you doing? Hit me with these chairs." Because Eddie didn't hit him. He gave him that Stevie Wonderful at the beginning of the intro chair shot. He just set it on his head.
Yeah, you're right. It was I don't know, taking it easy for sure. Paulie comes back out and wants to bring out a challenge by the Dark Patriot for Terry Funk for next week. Terry tries to accept a challenge to fight Paulie, of course, and Paulie backs off from that. Dark Patriot, of course, is Doug Gilbert, Eddie's brother.
Yes, he was. But here's one thing I noticed about this. And if I had the pencil and I would have booked this, did Terry Funk wrestle on this show today?
No.
He didn't. But when he came out to accept Paulie's challenge, what was he wearing?
His wrestling shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He looked like he was ready to work. And this is supposed to be a week-to-week show, right?
Right.
Even though you're taping, 4 or 5 weeks ahead of time, why wouldn't you have had Terry Funk come out in an outfit, a regular suit, and have Paulie come out and him go like, wait a minute, like I don't have my wrestling gear on. Let me go in the back and see what I can. No, Terry Funk came out. The only thing he didn't have was the goddamn branding iron. I mean, he was ready to go. I mean, it's little things like that. You know what I mean? That caught my eye, and I was like, well, why is he out there dressed like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he going to work is he going to beat up Hervé Ernesto?
And it's crap like that you almost forgive, I guess, when you're watching WWF at the time because it was so cartoony or whatever. Everybody was always in their tights. But you're right, for a show like this, it would seem much more apropos for him to just, like you said, be dressed in his jeans and a T-shirt or something to that effect.
And he comes out smiling, talking to the people like he's glad to be there. And then Paulie shows up and he says, I want you to wrestle the Dark Patriot. And then he's like, I don't know who that is, which it makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Terry Funk knows Doug Gilbert, he's just not selling it. And, and this is what's great about this. Now you start seeing how Eddie Gilbert he realizes how much money Todd Gordon may or may not have.
Mm-hmm.
As we'll get along further into the show.
The Dark Patriot, like I said, is Doug Gilbert, for those of you that don't know. Man, me and Aaron used to watch GWF, come home from school every day. Damn, did they have a lot of product anyway. But they were on every day on ESPN, and the Dark Patriot was one of the big heels in the GWF. And obviously, because his brother is here in ECW now, this is where he is. So that's where the gimmick comes from. The funny thing about this to me is that for the ECW audience, there's really no explanation of why the Dark Patriot is the Dark Patriot. In GWF, no, at GWF, at least he was the counter to the Patriot. You kind of got why he was there, but go ahead.
I just think they did the Dark Patriot things and I haven't watched the episode yet, but I'm sure they do like a mask reveal, like where they get the mask off of him or everything. But they probably knew the audience they were playing towards knew who the Dark Patriot really was.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, they're assuming that all these people's parents had jobs and afford cable, and they can watch ESPN because because literally Philadelphia was a big market. Like them shows, '93, it was still $20 to get in there.
Damn.
That's not a cheap ticket,
No,
and it was still general admission,
Mm-hmm. So, anything else on this Funk segment, guys, before we roll on to our first, I guess you call it a match?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I thought it was what it was. And like I just said, you could have tweaked it and made it a little more believable and added a little more depth to it. But no, it did. It served its purpose.
And Paulie did a good job being afraid of Terry. Like being like when Terry first showed up, he ran away and then he came back and was like, I got this Dark Patriot thing. And Paulie at first was like, Funk was like, oh, you're going to challenge me. And Paulie's like, oh God, no way.
Yeah,
do I want to fight you at all? No. Like Paulie did really good with Terry.
Yeah, he did.
It was a good interaction. I liked it.
I totally agree. I think Paulie he put Terry Funk over because he's the head honcho there, man. He's the number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to build that house,
Yes, absolutely. Hawk now lays waste to the Samoan Warrior and a guy we've seen for the first time here on the ECW show, Donnie Allen. Well, go ahead, guys. Anything? It's a squash match, essentially, folks.
It served its purpose, and it worked for me.
I think Donnie was set up. I think at some point, Road Warrior Hawk punched or thumbed Donnie Allen in the eye to get him out of the ring so he could take liberties at that big Samoan Warrior guy. Because everybody knows, if you know Donnie Allen as well as I do, then Donnie Allen could clearly handle a guy, the size of Road Warrior Hawk. I mean, I think he got railroaded in that match. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't understand why Road Warrior Hawk. Well, I guess I kind of do. He was put in a promo match. But why was Donnie a sacrificial lamb in that match?
Yeah.
He could have did that just as much with the Samoan Warrior without Donnie being there, you know?
Yeah, put the Wolfman in there. Samoan Warrior and the Wolfman.
Oh, no, the Wolfman's coming up.
yeah, he is. But so is everybody on the show, because we're just going to throw everybody in
there.
But yeah, and then we get a promo from Hawk, who is very Hawk here, talking about Superfly Jimmy Snuka. As a matter of fact, I think he said, He said, go ahead, Aaron.
Hawk says, I don't care about you, Jimmy Snuka, your family, or your pet hamster Fred.
Yeah.
He also says, I need some fresh meat to beat. I don't remember if that was during the in the arena promo or during this promo, but he says, I need some fresh meat to beat.
For a guy as clever enough to come up with like Paul Bearer's actual ring name, like Hawk was, he must have been sitting back in the locker room reading a medical dictionary. Like, what was he telling like Snuka he was going to do? He was going to deviate his septum.
Yeah, he said, I dream of deviated septums, broken tendons, floating bones, and these are all going to be your nightmare.
Jesus. I don't want to hear that nonsense.
It was high as fuck. It was.
And he also said you will be picking your teeth out of tomorrow's bowel movement.
Movement.
That was that was in there too.
I'm gonna kick your fucking teeth that far down. Hawk fucking ruled it on this show, man. It's fucking great.
Well, I ain't stopping him. I don't remember during that promo. One thing I don't remember being there is where that promo took place at, because I never really got a chance to see that backdrop. I don't know where that was from.
You know what that backdrop reminds me of? It's not the
New
same
York
one.
Knockout.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It reminds me of the backdrop from New York Knockout with Funk and Flair in the I Quit match. Those promos that they did. That's what it reminded me of. Was that backdrop?
Good observation. I don't remember that, but I wonder if Cornette stole the curtain. I wonder if Paulie stole the curtain.
Yeah, Paulie. I like that. I'm going to take that.
I got this curtain. I got my Studio 54 apron that's going to be coming up later.
And I'm taking this phone with me too, sir. Now we get an outside Eddie Gilbert outside. I'm assuming outside the studio or outside the ECW Arena there, doing a promo outdoors about trying to become the King of Philadelphia. He's obviously in this whole thing an homage to Andy Kaufman. It has to be.
I don't know. Elaborate. I didn't get it, so tell me why. I don't know.
Just some of the stuff he does in this, and then during commentary when he's commentating with Sully later on, he does like a hoo 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 thing and talk about the people of Philadelphia and I don't know if it necessarily was 100% intended to be, but to me he kind of takes some inspiration in this from the Andy Kaufman King of Memphis stuff.
Maybe. I mean, Eddie was always a big fan of Jerry, so I mean, clearly the King thing was always in the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the king of anything. Gilbert wanted to be the king of anything. Honestly, that's what he just loved. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I didn't catch it during the commentary during that, because that clearly was during all that commentary was during in post production. As to when we get to the end of the show, I'll tell you how it all made sense. How you know it was done in post production. But yeah, the funny thing is about that studio, the studio was in a basement. So Eddie Gilbert literally had to. You'll see it later on in Public Enemy. We'll see a set of steps behind the back of them. That's the steps that go down to the studio. So Gilbert just walked outside of the studio to cut that promo. And I don't understand why he can't wear a hat like anybody else. Jesus. Unless he had some big, gigantic afro going on underneath there.
My thing was, it's like he wanted to. He said, like at the beginning of the promo, he's like, "Oh, I'm outside here in Philadelphia, and all that, and that's cool and everything." But it's like, why not just go and tape that in front of something that's
Philadelphia,
not in front of a bunch of fucking bushes?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like Chad said. He just walked out the back door, and
Yeah, it's like, well, but go stand in front of something that people would know is in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And you're going to start. You're going to see that. You're going to start seeing that because, yeah, I think maybe Eddie thought about that same exact thing because you'll start seeing that later on. You know, I don't know what you've seen so far, but yeah, you will start seeing that. But what about this gigantic, I mean, humongous Battle Royal for the first ever Pennsylvania state champion? I mean,
my
what
first
is that?
question.
I want to start calling. I was like, oh, the Pennsylvania state title. I want to call it the state pen title.
My first,
That's what a lot of these guys probably are right now.
my first thought, and we'll get into the meat of the matter, I guess. But my first thought when the Battle Royal started was, who's the guy in the purple mask? And then later on, they say it's Max
Thrasher
in the purple. And then I'm like, why the fuck is
he in a
Max
mask?
Thrasher in a purple mask? Like, what is going on?
I didn't even. I was writing it down, and then I wrote Max wearing a mask, and then I was like, wait a minute, they just said it was Mask. It was Max.
Yeah.
Like,
my note is, why is Max Thrasher wearing a fucking mask?
and why is the Wolfman wearing spandex? He had on like pink spandex.
My question would be is, how is the Wolfman wearing spandex?
Did you guys happen to notice by any chance who the referee was?
I didn't know who it was. Like I don't know who that was, but I did notice he was different. But I don't know who it was.
I know Wolfman looked like a busted thing of biscuits in his spandex.
Dude, Wolfman was bad, man. Like literally, I wrote it was a battle royal with all the no stars. Like it was, you know, why wasn't there Rower Hawk in it? You know why? Because he wasn't going to be the first ever Pennsylvania.
He would have to. He would have to be eliminated. Therefore, he's not.
Here's all our garbage and Tommy Cairo
and Jay Sully. Well, you know what? I got a different take on that. But one thing that I didn't like was Jay Sully making note that most of the people that were in the battle royal were in tag teams.
Yeah.
So literally, I don't remember who won by watching it, but by Jay Sully saying all these guys were in tag teams, I just eliminated all them guys and said, okay, well, they're all going to get eliminated, kind of thing. And then I was like, okay, well, we got JT Smith and we got Tommy Cairo. And I literally wrote, I would have put JT over. I thought they did put JT over in it. And then I was like, holy shit. When literally after I just wrote it, they tossed JT over. And then I just said, okay, well, now there's Cairo with, you know, a couple other tag teams. So clearly they're going to find a way to get them guys out so Cairo can win. Mm-hmm. But I have no recollection of Cairo winning. But I will say that I do like the fact that they planted a small entire seed between Stetson and Hotbody.
Yeah.
That I started to like because, you know, it was terrible. The execution was not good, but I liked where they were going with it. And then there was a complete blown spot where Tommy Cairo was in the ring where the spot was so bad that the camera panned like a bunch of little kids. Yeah. And I was like, how bad could this spot have been? That, you know, they showed the kids for like 40 seconds. Like the kid had a birthday. They panned to him so long. You know, I'm like, wow, this is how, because you know where the spot was. Larry Winters was clearly supposed to dive over the top rope. And he bounced off of it. And Cairo didn't really put it all together in time to realize, well, I'll just throw you over. Right. He tried to redo the spot.
Yeah, exactly. And I have that down here. Cairo wins after a really, really fucked up finish. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was worse. It was worse than the Randy Savage Yokozuna '93 Royal Rumble. It was that bad.
Yeah,
I just don't know why they didn't
pin somebody in a battle royal.
I just don't know why they didn't have anything for the winner. There wasn't a trophy. The belt clearly wasn't made because I'm not even sure that it even was made. Unless it was just another belt they used as the Pennsylvania.
Well, he's in the next match and he doesn't even have it.
Right. I think I think they used to put tape over somewhere on the belt where they would write Pennsylvania on it or something. I mean, don't. I'm not positive on that. I think I just saw it, but I mean, there was not even a trophy, like not a ceremony or anything. Like he just won a battle royal. So you threw the fucking Samoan warrior out of the ringer.
There's a point in the match too where Sully, and he even it's the Max Thrasher and he's wearing a hood thing. Sully goes, "Oh, there's Max Thrasher wearing the hood, headbutting JT Smith, and it's not even on the screen." And Paulie is obviously commentating with Sully, and he goes, "What are you even talking about? Just talk about what you see on the screen." Like
I have no idea.
This guy how to do play-by-play.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paulie's producing him. Paulie's producing him while they're working. Yeah,
he's like, "What are you even talking about?"
I have no idea why Max Thrasher was wearing a mask. Like I saw it as soon as the bell rang. I saw the skulls on his tights, and I saw what's Max Thrasher, and then I saw Dudley, and I was like, "Why is he wearing pink span?" Oh, come on. But I do like the Stetson that came out of this. This is the Stetson that I actually got to know when I got up there, and this is the Stetson that I think shows a lot more promise than it did being a babyface with Larry Winters.
And that is if anything their segment after the Battle Royal is probably the best thing about the Battle Royal. You know, the old it's like, you know, it is what it is. It's been done a million times, but that's pro wrestling. The old, I'm going to pretend like I'm your friend again, and then as we walk away, I'm going to throw you into the ring post or whatever, what have you, hit you with a chair, et cetera, et cetera. And they did a good job with it. Like I said, I think that was the best part of this whole segment.
I agree. For that time period, that was pretty much the go-to, like the way you do that kind of thing. I mean, I could sit here and nitpick and do a whole bunch of different things, but yeah, that's 27 years later.
Right.
You know, me saying you could have done this better, you could have done that better, but for the time period, yeah, they did what they had to do. He pretended like he was his friend still, and then, you know, bashed him into the buckle kind of thing. But yeah, you know, I got it. And I guess at the time period, the crowd got behind it. But yeah, this was definitely, like I said, the Stetson that I thought that is really going to be the best Stetson you're going to get out of his whole entire run.
And we would also be remiss, or I guess not really, but they are planting the seeds during the Battle Royal for later in the show. Something going down with Hunter Q. Robbins and the Suicide Blondes, because they are very good friends, as Paulie keeps saying. Like, what is he alluding to? But anyway,
I
now here's our appearance by Stevie Wonderful,
which Jay Sully goes, "Let's go to this great interview conducted by Paul Lee with Peaches and the Sandman." And then they go, and it's Stevie Wonderful.
Well, that was probably, I mean, what do you guys think? That was probably taped how many weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, was that taped the same time Road Warrior Hawks was, or was that just one of the generic scrums that they did after a show because Gilbert was like, you know, we got like 2 more weeks before the show. Just give me something.
Probably a generic deal.
Let's just keep milking this shit as much as we possibly can until we get there.
Yeah, I mean, but it took Peaches to realize that Sandman's birthday was coming up. I don't even think Hack even realized his birthday was coming up.
She said, and it's going to be Sandman's birthday, and the look of a surprise on his face. Yeah.
Like, what?
It's my birthday.
I get drunk every day, bro.
I don't even know where the fuck I am.
Yeah, bro. Fuck Chad Austin. Yeah, I mean, putting over that promo, I don't know what to say. Her the best thing they could have done was let Peaches talk and not Tigra, I guess. I guess. If any of that makes any sense, is like, if she's the best out of the 2 talkers, let her talk.
And notice in this week's show, Sully keeps referring to Tigra as Terrible Tigra. Because that's supposed to add something to the character, I guess, is the fact that we've added terrible.
Well, maybe he saw her work. Maybe she worked somewhere before. And he got a hold of a videotape and he goes, "Oh my God, she's terrible."
Terrible Tigra. There we go. So there's that promo. Sandman essentially, they're talking about the fact that at the Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular, damn it, that's the first time I've gotten it right on the first try. It's awesome.
Good job, man.
Sandman's going to be facing Johnny Hot. No, not Johnny Hotbody. I'm sorry. Rockin' Rebel in a no holds barred match, I believe. And Peaches.
No, it's a street fight. And the only way Rebel's going to be ready is he has to go to the Bronx at midnight.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, pal. I'm not a big fan of Rebel or the Sandman. But my money is on if the Rebel walked down in Harlem, whatever he's wearing, he might stand a better chance than the Sandman walking down there wearing a wetsuit. He might get a different response than Rebel might get. If you feel me, what I'm saying, he might get the wrong people approaching him about
Sandman
that wetsuit.
coming out in his little tight onesie to Surf City. He's gonna get fucked up.
I don't know about fucked up, but he'll get all furred.
And Peaches and Terrible Tigra are going to be facing off in a match where the goal is to strip your opponent of all of their clothing.
Which nobody wanted to see.
Nobody wants to see this.
Nobody wants to see that fur on Peaches.
If I was Peaches, I think the angle would have been better if she would have brought out more clothes. Instead of taking the clothes off Tigra, like she would have brought out like a wardrobe.
Yeah.
Because there was a wardrobe in the ECW Arena. It didn't belong to us. It belonged to the building because they did a bunch of theater shows there. So there was a wardrobe there. But if she brought out this big wardrobe and kept beating her up because she's so ugly, you kept putting clothes on her. I thought that would have been a bigger payoff than seeing her. I don't know, whatever. She had a tattoo on her boobies and stuff. I mean, come on. I don't have any time for that.
And now, oh God, this Belomo promo.
It's Pop-Up Belomo.
He challenges Sylvester Stallone.
That you know of.
That's the only coherent thing in the whole.
He says something about the Super Destroyers or Super D, and him put on the mask and a piece of pizza, and I don't know. There was all kind of jibber jabber going on.
He left the mask in the arena. I put it on, and he all mad, and dabba. And they put a little text on the screen being like, "Did Sal Belomo just challenge Sylvester Stallone?"
Yeah, I wrote Pop-Up Belomo. Like pop-up video when you watch the movies and he kept putting up stuff. And yeah, because clearly he didn't know what he was saying. He challenged Belomo and he said something about the kids. He wore the this is what I had to watch it twice. He wore the Super Destroyer mask because the kids liked it. And he liked the kids. But I felt so creepy that I turned the volume down and closed the door because I don't want the neighbors here. And a grown man saying, "I put a mask on because I like the kids."
And the pizza. We got the pizza and the kids, and I got the mask on. And
like I don't need Craig Hansen at my house.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, Belomo, clearly this is I don't know if Belomo knows it or not, but yeah, this is about like the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm. And
he at least makes it to the Super Summer Sizzler because he's hyped.
Yeah, he's going to be teaming with the Super Destroyers against all three.
He's going to be in their corner.
Well, didn't we see a promo for Dick Murdoch right around here too?
Yeah, Dick Murdoch's going to fight the Dark Patriot, the Super Summer Sizzler.
That I swear it didn't happen. I mean, nobody can tell me that it happened because I haven't talked to anybody that remembers it either. We'll see in the future weeks.
They say the return. They say the return to ECW of Dirty Dick Murdoch, even though we have never seen him.
It just says the returning Dick Murdoch.
Oh, okay.
I made sure I looked at that.
Okay. Yeah,
Dick didn't last so much longer. He didn't live a whole lot longer than that.
No, I think he died in 96?
Yeah. It wasn't too much longer than that he died.
Mm-hmm.
He had that little weird run in the WWF, and then he was done.
He was in the 95 Rumble, I think, or something like that. Yeah, but anyway, I guess we'll find out if he's on this show. I've been trying not to read ahead spoilers and stuff just because I'm trying to go in fresh every single week. But yeah, Sal Balomo challenging Sly Stallone because he stole his name, which anyway. So now we have our new Pennsylvania state champion, Tommy Cairo, teaming up with Glenn Osborne against the Suicide Blondes, the ECW Tag Team Champions. And Hunter Q. Robbins is now the Suicide Blondes manager. And I put down I thought the match was decent.
Wasn't this the debut of Sir Christopher Michaels?
Yes. Which the funny thing is, Hunter calls him Sir Richard Michaels, and then Sully calls him Chris Michaels. So I guess we'll find out which name they're going to stick with. Yeah, I noticed that. But I thought the match wasn't bad. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought.
At first, I thought Hunter Q just fucked up when he called him Sir Richard Michaels. But the more I thought about it, I thought that it was probably Paulie going like, we can't have two Sir Christophers in the Hollywood Blondes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm probably pretty sure after this, we're probably going to see that they just dropped the Sir thing. Probably next, like Paulie's probably going to be like, this Sir thing's stupid. That's
stupid, yeah.
Well, I think what you're going to see after this, they're going to drop the whole Christopher Michaels thing. Because I don't think he's got legs for this whole entire promotion either. No. I don't know, but I think that when I started, it was his last show. Because I do remember running across him in the locker room and being like, "Wow, I saw you on TV." Well, see you later, man. I mean, hey, I was like, nice to meet you. Goodbye. Sorry, dude. I didn't realize you were on your way out of here.
And watching this match. Sorry, not to cut you off, Chad, but unless fucking Tommy and Candido are in there, the entire match I thought was like just a half step or a step behind. Like when Chris is in there with Glenn Osborne, it's just like they're like stumbling over each other.
Yeah, there's a certain point where when you get like guys at that level, which is nothing against them, it is what it is. We were all at that level at some point. When you get like four guys in the ring and you're doing like a schmoz like that, it's hard to like. A lot of guys just feel like obligated to throw the guy into the ropes. You know what I mean? And then you throw the guy into the ropes, but you have no idea that somebody's playing the piano in the background. Whatever's going on at somewhere over there. I don't know what that is. What noise is that?
I think it's a train.
Sorry.
All right, but when there's like four guys in the ring and you're doing a schmoz and they're all breaking down. A guy wants to break a guy into the ropes, throw him into the ropes, but yet right there across the ring, there's two other guys that are fighting on the ground. Mm-hmm. So it always sucks when a guy has to take a guy from the corner to the buckle because the other guy's in the way. They're like, it looks bad. And,
it's not that they didn't try.
It's amateurish, but it's understandable because that's the level that these guys are at because they're all at the same level. So they're all working together, and Candido probably has the most experience out of the whole entire match. But, you can only do so much, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and like I said, I didn't dislike the match. I thought that, like you said, I mean, with everybody being at the level that they're at, watching this match for me as a non-worker, it felt like everybody was at least trying to have the best match they could have. That's another thing that I noticed about this show is, and I don't know if you guys did or not, but this new atmosphere injected some inspiration into these workers too. It seemed like a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just the atmosphere. Maybe the atmosphere made me feel better about the show. I don't know, but I felt like
they were in front of
everybody worked harder.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could be because I don't have a definite explanation, but it could be because a lot of these guys that are on this show now that were on the Cabrini shows got to sit home and watch the Cabrini shows.
Yeah.
Before they, and they realize, man, I should have done this. I could have done this, you know? So now when they're looking at their calendar going, I get to work the arena, so now I get an opportunity to kind of like redo it again, you know? And like I said, I couldn't have been any more prouder of Stetson out of this show. Mm-hmm. Stetson, to me, was probably going to end up being my hero out of this whole entire show because it showed like he was more motivated than most guys.
Right.
But yeah, the one thing I did notice about Cairo and Osborne against the Chance where do you guys know who Stan the Fan is?
No, I don't.
There was at one point where all the heels, all three of the jabrones were outside the ring, and there was a guy that had a sign behind him. I don't know what the sign said, but he's a big fat guy with a mustache. He becomes one of them super fan guys that are always there. And I popped when I went, oh my God, it's Stan the Fan.
Stan the Fan.
Like, he wasn't one of the guys that sat at ringside during Murderer's Row with Paul and all the other guys. He would stand in the parking lot and he would direct traffic. Like he didn't work there. He would just direct traffic. And I remember pulling up, and sometimes he wouldn't even be in the parking lot. He'd be up on South Street telling traffic to come down to the show. And that was my first time seeing him, and I'm like, Stan the Fan! Oh my God! I actually got out of my seat and I popped over it.
You know what? This is totally off topic, but Aaron and I grew up in the city, okay, and eventually we both found our way to Podunk here. That is one of the things I miss most about growing up in the city, or about being in the city, is the fucking characters, man. I miss the characters, like, a guy like that or whatever. Like, I don't work here, but I'm going to direct traffic anyway. Just characters, man. I miss it. Anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And believe me, Philadelphia, wow.
In Toledo, we used to have a guy that would dress up like Batman, stand on the corner and preach dressed as Batman. I mean, it's just, shit like that. You don't see
Batman preacher.
Yeah, Batman preacher.
He was just out there.
Yep.
Owning
the gimmick, baby.
Batman preacher.
Why couldn't during this fucking tag match? I mean, Hunter had pretty much one job to do, correct? Mm-hmm. He had to hit the guy with the cane,
and he didn't even do it.
Not only did he not do it, but I mean, I'm a big fan of Jim Molyneux. How dumb could you make Jim Molyneux look?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, if I was, in a perfect world, referee would have disqualified the whole entire thing. But Jim Molyneux looks at it.
He just stood there and looked at it.
And then he yells at Hunter, like, what are you doing? Get out of here. And then he counts the pin. I'm just like, oh, man. He just took all the credibility off the ref. He couldn't even tell the finish.
And they have him clinched up for the pin, and the heel even has to go, look at the pin. Like, he's pinning him. Count it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad.
That's like I said, this match was just a step behind. Everybody was just a step behind in this whole thing.
And Michaels,
it just went to show where they're all at this level.
When Michaels came out, I wrote, and the crowd went mild as Chris Michaels.
Away. You know what's funny though is that when he walked to the ring and all you saw was his back and his hair, he looked like Jericho.
Yeah, yep, he sure did.
And I'm like, what the fuck? That's the closest that anybody's ever going to call
Chris Michael
Jericho.
And it's Richard or Christopher or something. Michaels, he's going to be with the Suicide Blondes now. And now the Super Destroyers come out because since Hunter Q has announced he's now managing the Suicide Blondes.
I think we should start calling him HQT3.
Yeah, okay, sure. Because I'm getting ready to call him HQ. See you later. He's not going to be around a whole lot longer. Now that I can test, because for me, for Paul Lee to come up with an idea that Hunter Q. Robbins might possibly be my manager, that pretty much tells you that he ain't got a whole lot in store for Hunter Q. Robbins.
not a lot of steam between Halitosis Robbins the third.
He's not building a big table around me.
Well, the Super Destroyers come out here because I don't know why anybody'd be sad to lose this manager, but they're upset that they're losing this Jay Brown as their manager.
Well, that was clearly AJ that was doing the talking there. Mm-hmm. That I do know, and that whole entire talking was just goddamn. I mean, I don't want to say it was bad, but there was nothing like go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he talked for like 4.5 minutes and didn't say anything. That
Nothing
was the
emotional.
Biggest, yeah, no. And he said they were the champs for 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Jesus Christ. These fucking people had to sit through the Super D's as the tag team champions for 2.5 fucking years.
I mean, let's be honest. If you work once a month or once every 2 months.
And were they
it's like we've been champs for 2.5 years. We defended these belts 7 times.
Yeah.
We're the best.
My other question is, I don't think Eastern Championship Wrestling had been around for 2.5 years. So were they the champions in TWA or something before this?
Probably.
It would have been, that would have been what, 91?
Yeah.
So that would have been in conjunction with UIW, which would have been a Baltimore company, and possibly, like whatever the other one. Would you say TWN?
Yeah. The Joe Goodhart deal. Sorry.
Something similar to that. I don't want to say Joe Goodhart wasn't involved, but yeah, it could have been name only.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to me. But that brawl they got into with all them guys, that was bad.
It was weird. Like the whole thing was weird.
Then the brawl
ended. It was bad, but after they threw Jarano and the other 2 guys out of the ring, like I was actually shocked at the pop that the Super Destroyers got. Like, did you notice it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they fucked it all up because at the end of it they had a shitty brawl, but people were into it. And then they're like, "Oh, let's bring everybody else back out that just powdered out, and let's set up this match for next week." Like they should have just ended it when the brawl fucking ended.
Yeah,
right. They should have been back to back. Be like, "Come on," while the crowd's all getting behind them. But no, they had to. Whatever. But it's 93. You know what I mean? You live and you learn, I guess.
And they're gonna learn.
I'm sure I could put bad matches of me on TV, and we can just groove on it.
And then okay. This thing was just so long and convoluted that. So by the end of it, essentially, Todd Gordon has awarded the Super Destroyers a tag team championship match for next week, I believe. They're setting up a lot for next. I mean, I get confused sometimes during the show because they're talking about the big show coming up, but they're also setting stuff up for next week. So
according to the TV time frame, that's in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean they're doing right by the timestamps of when this show airs. So yeah, this is airing on the 8th. So what is it, the 16th and the 19th? So yeah, a week and a half. Like and Todd's yelling, "This is the People's Federation." Really? Well, what peoples? There's like 70 of them out there.
The people are clamoring for the Super D's versus the Suicide Blondes.
I would hate to be at Todd's jewelry store and get the mail bags that he must receive every day with the letters, and the cards and all, wanting the Super D's to get their rematch.
It's like Bobby Heenan said, "I'm getting so much fan mail. My postman in Beverly Hills is hunchbacked." Yeah.
Rough.
All right, so now we are moving on to the main event of this show. It is the rematch. The rematch everybody wants to see. The Sandman against our cumbersome champion, Don Morocco.
Joined in progress.
We got to see that. That's what I wrote. JIP, joined in progress. I don't know if you two guys noticed it. I don't know why my audio is so down, but I can barely hear you. But it was joined in progress. But did Morocco seem a little bit more motivated tonight than he did last week, guys?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I have note here. It looks like Morocco gives a shit in this match.
It seemed like somebody explained to him that this is where we're going. This is what we're doing.
This isn't a shitty little, it is a little indie, but you know what I mean. We actually had plans for this promotion. And yeah, I mean, he seemed a lot more invested in this match.
Yeah, I totally agree.
In the past couple of weeks.
Paulie probably threw him a couple extra whoppers. Here's some whoppers, buddy. You want these whoppers? Have a good match with the Sandman.
It's all coming down. Right here with some whoppers.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like their exchanges and punches.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that Sandman was a southpaw and Morocco. I've always liked how Morocco punched. He always had that good punch, and then he would always wait for the punch and back in response, and then he would sell it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Sandman being a left-handed guy, it made the whole entire fight sequence seem that much more realistic to me.
I also like the fact that Eddie was on play-by-play because, like, we were talking about the Texas Chainsaw Match Massacre or whatever. It was like a lot of Terry talking about it, but you didn't hear anything from Eddie. And now it's like we're a week away, and now we're at least finally hearing something from the other side of it and hearing from Eddie Gilbert. And I thought Gilbert did a really good job.
Doing commentary gives Eddie the chance to quote unquote cut the promo and hype the match. Yeah.
Well, here's something that I don't know if you two even understood or not, or even caught it, but it's this to me was a Paul Lee thing, because if you noticed, didn't 3/4 of the show Paul Lee do commentary?
Yes.
Who came to the ring with Morocco?
Paul Lee did.
Didn't Paul Lee before that match say, "I'm going to go to the locker room and get Eddie, the King himself, to do commentary for you for this next match"?
Mm-hmm. You
know why he did?
Because
somebody realized that Paul Heyman was doing commentary during the Paul Heyman match. So, somebody was smart enough to realize that, we got to, Eddie, we got to post-produce this.
Right.
Because that to me, I laughed. I actually laughed when I saw that and going, I am so glad that somebody caught that. Because, what was I going to do watching a match, watching Paul Lee at ringside, and he's making fun of Jay Sully?
Yeah. And thank God they didn't bring Stevie Wonderful back out.
No, I think this is going to be it for Steve, because I really don't have too many memories of interaction with Stevie Wonderful, if I have any. Because, at this point, when I'm coming in, none of these guys really made any difference to me. Like, I didn't know them. They weren't going to be a positive or a negative to me. So I just stayed to myself. So I just think I waited, for my chance.
The one crack here that I thought was fun. I mean, there were Eddie had a lot of good lines here, but the one crack that stuck out at me was Sully says something about Sandman getting a nice new wetsuit, and Eddie says, "Yeah, he stretched the other one out."
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, he said he stretched the other one out. He had to get it.
Oh, I heard the comment about the new wetsuit, and then Gilbert made a comment, and then I heard Sully say something. I said, "No, I didn't hear what he said." Yeah, well, I mean, as you can clearly tell, that he can't pull a zipper up on any wetsuit. Jesus.
Very true. Very true. But yeah, overall, a better match out of these two. It gets a count-out finish and a little chaos to end the show. Overall, the fresh coat of paint, guys. Unless you do have anything else on the main event, I was just going to start wrapping up about the show.
Well, I'll say that I will say that I think because I think Paul Lee was way ahead of Eddie at this time, and I don't even know if Paul Lee and Eddie were in cahoots at the same time. But the fact that Morocco worked a whole lot better during this match, what led me to believe that somebody told Morocco there could be more paydays down the road.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a shining light to me. But did either one of you two notice somebody at ringside taking pictures during this show? Now that you're getting ready to wrap it up.
I noticed someone at ringside taking pictures at one point, yes, but I didn't know. I only saw them from behind. I don't know if there was a time where they were actually got their face, but I saw someone from behind taking pictures.
Well, it was George Napolitano.
Okay.
and that led me to believe that he was probably there because of Road Warrior Hawk, because of his All Japan. I mean, because of his New Japan ties, and then ECW was starting to get a little bit of getting a little bit of tread.
Play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were starting to build little things, and they I don't remember. I mean, I could probably go back and look at my archives at the magazines, but they're probably starting to get a little more pressed during around this time. And George Napolitano, in my opinion, if you can't have Bill Apter, who's better?
Well,
and that to me is a great sign. I mean, you're going in the right direction when you start getting worldwide acclaimed photographers from the wrestling magazines, at your little small shows.
Yep, they're definitely.
Which I don't want to say small shows like that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that definitely shows that they're getting some traction. But yeah, I didn't know that was him. Like I said, I remembered seeing a photographer on our side, on the camera side of the ring, the back of their head, but I didn't ever remember seeing a face. So that's cool info to have.
I noticed George when after they had like the double count out thing, and then Morocco was on one side where the hard cam was, and then you see George, he was kneeling.
Okay.
Below the apron. That's when I called him. But yeah, you're right. He was probably there the whole entire time. I just didn't catch him.
So overall, out of 5, I gave this show a 2.7. I know it's a little creep up from the 2.5s I've been giving the shows, and I give it a 2.7 because of the fresh coat of paint, because it felt fresher. There's like we were talking about the veterans. The veterans have a little more exuberance to them. The whole show feels like it's starting. Pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place.
I gave it a 3. Honestly did. And I just enjoyed the show. There wasn't a lot of wasted time like there had been on the other shows or filler bullshit. And it clipped along really good. And there wasn't anything terrible or unbearable watching this show. I just thought out of everything we've watched, this is actually the best ECW hardcore TV that we've watched since we started.
Jesus, that's saying a lot then.
Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, I went to the dumpster and I found the best used tire in the whole entire lot. Is that? Yeah. I get what you're saying there. Yeah, but God, after 2 months of the Cabrini College, I'll take anything.
Anything. Yep.
And if I had to give it my grade, I mean, it's gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna give it like, Nate, you're the one that said what, 2.7?
2.7. I've been giving it.
If we're gonna go at that rate, I'm gonna give it a 1.9.
Okay, almost to a 2, baby.
Yeah, but see, that to me is because they're doing a whole lot of what's called resetting. Like they're starting to reinvent the new characters and new angles, and you're not going to build these guys overnight.
Right.
So it was a good show in the sense that we're starting to see where they want to go. Now it's where they're going to take us when they get us there. So it was a great start, but the action to me, it wasn't enough, to give it a better grade. Everything else was fantastic. Like, the promos, the angles, the pop-up Bolomo, all that stuff. Everything was going in the right direction. So that's why we were talking earlier, guys, when I said I still never said it was good. And you guys said, you know what I meant? Like, that's what I meant. Because they're going in the right direction, but they didn't give me enough to say it was good. But I like where they're going. So, at the best, you could probably twist my arm and I can give it a 2. But, that's good compared to what we've been seeing.
And I thought I just think the crowd helped a lot too. Like that, it was a wrestling crowd, if that makes sense. Like,
it's going to start being more of a wrestling crowd as we get along on these shows. When they were
at Cabrini, it was like mom and dad took like their 5 kids to the show and whatever. But these were people that wanted to go out and watch wrestling. You know what I mean? It was like 4 dudes. Like, hey, let's go watch the wrestling show. And fucking Hawk showed up, and they're like, fucking A, like, the crowd helped a lot on this show.
Well, you'll know it is when I'm one of them 4 guys. Like I went there with 3 other guys.
Yeah.
And that's when it become that show. Yeah, so I agree. It's going to get better, but it's a slow process. But I like where they're going. They went today. It was great strides.
Mm-hmm. And we're one show away from the Super Summer Sizzler Steak and Sizzle show. We got to get through next week's show, which is going to feature Road Warrior Hawk challenging Jimmy Superfly Snuka for the ECW title, and Terry Funk against the Dark Patriot, and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert in a chain match. That's the listing on the WWE Network. We'll be watching that next week from June 15th, and then after that, we will be watching the Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular.
I think I know who Eddie Gilbert had the chain match against.
I don't. I forget, and I'm.
Oh boy,
Was
you
it
guys!
Hernando Benefacto?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. But I do believe.
Benefacto.
I do believe I was in attendance for this.
Cool.
Because I remember going, "Oh my God, it's Herbie!" Yeah, I'm pretty sure. If I'm mistaken, then believe me. I'll be the first one to tell you, but I can tell you I believe being in the crowd going, oh my God, they're gonna kill Hervé again, like he's the new Kenny or Lana.
All right, well, gentlemen, if you want to, Aaron, you want to do your sign off for this week?
Yep, just keep listening. Enjoy the We Can't Wrestle podcast. This podcast. Check out Chad on his different social media outposts and all that shit. Just have a good time, and thanks for listening.
Chad?
Yeah, I mean, you can always follow me on Twitter as Chad Austin Demera. And if you guys are looking for tapes, not you guys, but people, I'm going to be getting rid of a whole ton of tapes or DVDs. Like literally thousands of them at a bargain basement price. And I have a group page. It's Chad's Video Vault. And I'll let you in if you're interested. But check that out. And anybody who's a big fan of Japan and Mexico and some territories, check out Roy Lucier on YouTube. Check out his YouTube page because he sends me tapes. I make him DVDs, send them back. He uploads them. It's great stuff. And always continue to support the We Can't Wrestle podcast and the 2300 as, we go out of our way to do the best we can for all you people.
Yes, and I have been getting positive feedback about this podcast. And I want to thank all of you that are joining us on the ground floor of this because I think we're on to something special here as time goes on and the show grows. And I want to thank Chad and Aaron for being here. And we will see you all again next week for the June 15th 1993 episode of ECW as the 2300 pod journey rolls on.